Well, here we are on this Monday evening, and much of the middle of the country, the Ohio Valley, the lower Great Lakes, down to the Gulf states, all under excessive heat warnings and/or heat advisories. And as temperatures got into the 90s today, also in the coastal Carolinas, but here in the Northeast, it's just basically a warm week and a somewhat humid week that we have to deal with, but we've got things coming for the Father's Day weekend, like some cool air coming down from Canada, which will look nice. We've got some severe weather to talk about. We're going to talk about that mesoscale convective complex we've been looking at for the last couple of days. Doesn't look all that impressive now as it's moving east. All that and more on Where Else But Tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. And just want to, yes, you can talk now. Uh, we can we we can start off the day by acknowledging Anthony Orr, who hit Super Chat tonight. And Anthony sent me a message on Messenger asking me about tropical cyclone development over the next week or two. I don't if it's going to happen. It might happen in the Southwest Caribbean, but uh, I think it just turns west and goes into inland into Central America, and we'll discuss that because that's been screwing up the GFS for last week or so. Uh, but just to jump ahead, uh, Father's Day weekend looks to be a nice weekend overall, with this big trough coming into the eastern part of the United States, and hot weather's not going to be that far away, but that trough's going to keep the Northeast, Mid Atlantic states, and even down by me, I'm going to probably get some dry air from that. So I'm pretty confident along those lines.
Well, I tell you, Joe, it looks like a beautiful weekend ahead of us, and the only rain I can see for the immediate tri-state area is coming our way on Thursday. As you mentioned, that mesoscale convective system that we were talking about for the last few days, that looks like it's going to move straight southeast and to our south,
Yes.
depending upon what model you're looking at. Maybe, just maybe, it might clip extreme southern New Jersey, but as far as we are concerned up here, we're home free with some great weather for now through Wednesday. Next chance again for any kind of wet weather may come Thursday into early Friday, and then, as you said, great weather for this upcoming Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether there might be a little bit of severe weather risk at the end of the week when that front comes through. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward pattern that we have going ahead. And with respect to this mesoscale um, convective complex that the models were picking up on, actually they started showing it all of last week, which was remarkable that it picked it up so soon. However, looking at the radar this evening, there are going to be there are already some strong thunderstorms and some severe weather that's going to be moving through into parts of Ohio as it heads east or east southeast and then southeast. But it just isn't going to. It's not going to be able to come. Certainly not going to be moving straight east. And
Or Virginia or West Virginia, that the system will have wound down considerably, and that only I tell you, I did a double take when I saw this. It referred to the main body of the showers and storms. They said the carcass of what is left of this convective system will then be passing over the Delmarva region during the afternoon tomorrow, and they don't really expect all that much from it in terms of really significant or substantial uh, severe storm conditions. But I said the carcass, the
carcass,
carcass.
carcass is a good word.
Yeah,
That's a new one on me. You know,
yeah.
we've seen some creative authoring over the years by some folks, but carcass is a new one.
Yep.
The corpse of.
Well, yeah. I mean, like the remnant effects. I've seen everything from that to, let's say, the debris clouds from the system. But whatever. The idea is that when the system reaches the mid-Atlantic coast tomorrow, that it will not be of the same potential in terms of strength and energy as what we're actually seeing right now. I mean, we have over the uh, over the upper Ohio Valley or lower Great Lakes, there's actually a moderate threat of any kind of severe weather, and there are also a number of different thunderstorm and tornado watches out there. But presumably, by the time this system again makes it to the coast tomorrow, a lot of the stuffing will have been knocked out of it, and so and it doesn't really involve us here in the northeastern United States. Here in the New York City area, it will not be of any great concern. Again, everything will be sliding off to our south. So there you go.
Well, I'm going to jump over to the radar because I just noticed something here. So I think we might have to pull up Tornado HQ because there looks like there might be a tornado warning up for near Chicago. So let's take a look at tornadohq.com and see what the latest warnings that they have up. But we do see that little watch box there, that warning box that popped up here on the radar, along with a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that are up. Also, a bunch of severe thunderstorm and looks like one or two tornado warnings up in Ohio. Tornado HQ seems to be having a tough time loading tonight. That's grand. Oh God! By the way, we
Yeah.
did take a brief internet hit there for about 20 seconds or so. Yep, timed out. So maybe everybody's trying to get into Tornado HQ. Let me try one more time. And yeah, apparently there is a host error at Tornado HQ. So we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. Why don't we go I'll go to the watches and warnings map here, and let's uh, pull up the weather service in Chicago. That's really odd. I
What
see it.
is?
Okay, because I see the box on the radar over in Lower Lake, Michigan. I could see where the tornado warning is, and yet on their warnings map, they don't have anything on here. Let's take a look. Oh, here we go. Tornado watch, tornado warning until 7:15 Central Time. Tornado warning in effect for northeastern DuPage and northern Cook counties in the Chicago area here. Tornado and 2-inch hail. The radar indicated rotation. Uh, the flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged, damage to roofs, windows, vehicles, etc., etc. And yeah, this is right in the Chicago area. I can recognize some of these towns here, so that's not too often.
But
Includes
with all due respect to Chicago, I mean, I'm looking at the Go 16 lightning imagery, and boy,
Hold
I got
on,
to tell
hold
you
on,
something.
hold on, hold on. Share. Let's share. Second. Okay. Want. There you go. So go ahead, share away.
Okay, and as you could see, what's going on right now in the area to the north and east of Cincinnati, just to the east of Dayton, and to the south and west of Columbus. That's like on Interstate 71. That's the interstate that connects Columbus with Cincinnati. My goodness, look at that, Joe. I mean, look at that. That is one potent system
Well,
that is moving through at
let's
this hour.
let's jump over to clean Cincinnati and take a look and see what's happening. There. Okay. So what do we got? They got a severe thunderstorm warning up. Somebody trying to see on this map where God is Cincinnati. I can't see it. All right, we'll do it this way. Cincinnati, Ohio, and pop it up. Guess I must have punched up too far east because I got into West Virginia. Yeah. Now for why is it doing this? I put in Cincinnati, Ohio, so it gives Wilmington, Ohio. Oh, that's okay. That's Cincinnati. That's Cincinnati Municipal Airport. Okay. They don't have. It's a strong. It must be a. It's a very strong cell as you've indicated, but they don't have any warning up there at the moment. Things a little screwed up tonight with the Tornado HQ being down. Let me try them one more time. Okay, one
In
more
the
time.
interim, I'm sure I brought up what I believe to be it's not Cincinnati. It's ILN in southwestern Ohio, but you can plainly see on the radar this broad area that just is moving along like one of those Mack trucks through southwestern Ohio, just again to the north and east of Cincinnati. Although now it's pretty well clear of Cincinnati, is now moving into southern sections of Ohio, and that one complex is really loaded for bear, at least in terms of thunder and lightning, and that is again sweeping at a rather rapid pace. This is over a 3 hour time span. Look how quickly it moves over 3 hours on the Cincinnati radar. Not the Cincinnati radar, the the ILN radar.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Tornado HQ is still down, so there must be some nonsense going on somewhere. All right. So, very color.
ILN is right. ILN is Wright Patterson.
Okay.
Wright Patterson Air Force Base.
So why don't you pull up the Chicago radar, see what they got going on over there? You be in charge of radars from now on.
Uh, all right, we'll go to that. Chicago. I think this is pretty close to what. Oh well, this thing right here just moved over Milwaukee. So I guess Mr. C and Fonzie just experienced that.
Well, there's the cell that's over. That's from earlier on the loop there, but on the last frame, you're going to.
And now this system, the last frame, this thing is moving now just to the north of Chicago.
Right.
It develops here. Looks like it's strengthening. And there's a system that passed over Milwaukee and has made the entire crossing of Lake Michigan, has now moved on into Michigan itself,
And there's
and
the
still
cell.
holding up pretty
There's the
well.
cell for Chicago. It pops up there to the northwest, and now that moves it. By the way, that tornado warning includes Wrigley Field.
Oh,
Yeah, there it is. There's that big cell, and the other one crossed the whole lake and went on the other side.
yeah.
Very
That's pretty
interesting.
active weather. I believe tomorrow Chicago's high temperature is going to be about something ridiculous like 97, 98.
Yep, I saw St. Louis got to 97 today, so it's hot there. The middle part of the country's in a ridge position, and that is keeping them in the heat. And in the meantime, that ridge doesn't. We've got enough of it here to keep us, let's call it warm to very warm, but not by what I would define as hot. And I've got the wide U.S. loop. Nice day overall in the east. You can see some flashes of scattered thunderstorms in parts of the southeast. And also in and around the Great Lakes. But again, with this mesoscale convective complex we were talking about, I would have expected to see the radar a lot busier, and certainly a solid concentration of showers and storms, as was indicated by the models yesterday. And you're really just not seeing that. I mean, it just doesn't look. I mean, there is activity here. Don't get me wrong, and there is quite a bit of this activity is strong to severe, as evident by all the severe thunderstorm warnings on the Ohio side and what's going on in and around Lake Michigan. But uh, I would have thought you would have seen that really concentrated, balled up area, and it just it almost looks, Joe, as if the energy's kind of split itself in two, and maybe that's the reason why you're not getting that one concentrated, small, tight, wrapped up looking upper system that was going to move by. That instead you've got more like fractured short waves that are coming out.
And we also have another super chat hit from David Schwartz, who is asking, when will the Sal over Florida clear out? Now, for those of you who are uninitiated, Sal would be the Saharan air layer, which is an extremely hot and dry and sometimes dust-laden layer of the atmosphere that often overlies the cooler and more humid surface air of the Atlantic Ocean. Right now, according to David Schwartz, very unusual across Florida right now. Warm, humid, but no thunderstorms because of the stability caused by the air of the South.
Sal,
And
yeah.
the South, yes.
Yeah, there's just a couple
What
of
does
there's
the
just
guy
a
mean?
couple of pop-ups here that just are coming and going, just widely scattered that we're seeing on the on the satellite. Let me bring that back up here. Boy, they got me dancing around and switching maps back and forth, and I'm trying to keep up with it, which is unusual for me. But this is what it looks like on the satellite, and we could take a look at the radar down in Florida. Yeah, I mean, there's a minimal amount of pop-ups that are showing up. Nothing really to write home about, so it's fairly quiet. Out in the west, we are actually seeing some showers in parts of Utah and Nevada, which is, I'm sure, welcomed. Also up through Wyoming and Montana, and in western Montana, just to go back to that watches and warnings map, they actually have winter weather advisories and a couple of winter storm warnings up for a few counties up in northwestern Montana. And also of note is the fact that it is uh, cold enough that they've got freeze and frost advisories up for northern Nevada and to parts of Oregon and northern California, with this excessive heat being indicated down in southern Arizona and in southeastern California near the Arizona state line in the part of the desert there. So that's no big surprise. Severe weather tonight, as we Joe pointed out, is concentrated in that area from Wisconsin southeastward into West Virginia, where we have a moderate risk and a couple of tornado watches that are up and a few severe thunderstorm watches that are up as well. All of that, again, moving southeast. You see the dry area in upstate New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania. This is where we're sitting right now, most of our area here in a bit of stability. The marginal risk line runs right through Delaware Bay on the north side and on the Virginia, North Carolina border on the south side. Also, a slight risk indicated for the Dakotas as some thunderstorms there later on tonight. Now, for tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center is shifting the risk eastward. Now, all that's going on in the Midwest is moving southeast, so they've got slight risk in Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula. They do have a marginal risk up to southern New Jersey and southern Pennsylvania. The slight risk down into eastern North Carolina. So that system's probably going to do something like this and head to the southeast. And again, it's going to pass well south of most of the area from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. We're looking at a slight risk also for parts of Nebraska and into Iowa, also up into eastern North Dakota and western Minnesota. Day three, as we move it right along. Now, this is for Wednesday into Thursday. SPC in inland Pennsylvania down to Virginia, North Carolina, then going back up into Ohio with the marginal risk, and also the marginal risk that extends from the Great Lakes down into parts of Kansas. Slight risk on the northern fringe of this from Iowa on up into Wisconsin. And we'll check out the day 4 to 8 outlook if they've got anything. And on day 4, now this is for Thursday into Friday, and this is when we're going to start to see the next cold front approaching. A slight risk being indicated for western New York, the western half of PA, down into West Virginia and Ohio. Day 5, predictability too low. Day 6, too low. Day 7, too low. And day 8, too low. Rainfall from, except for northern Maine, which is about half to 3/4 of an inch, everybody else is basically a quarter of an inch or less until you get down to southern New Jersey and into Virginia. Now, this is all convectively driven, what you're seeing in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, on the order of anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half, and then down the Appalachians in North Georgia, also for central and southern Florida, over the next 7 days, 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. And Glory, Joe, the um, WPC continues to show what is maybe a little bit of an early monsoon there coming up through Mexico and into Arizona and New Mexico. So half an inch to maybe an inch of rain in some places. So it's not enough to alleviate the very dry the drought conditions that we've seen in the Southwest. Some places probably haven't seen rain for months, this will certainly be welcomed, and that goes up into Utah and western Colorado, then really picks up a lot as you head up into Montana and then heading up into southern Canada. Uh, so, it's something for them, and they certainly
Beggars
could.
can't be choosers.
Right, but at least it's something. The atmosphere has opened up a little bit as far as the Southwest is concerned. So let's go to back to the weather across the U.S. And we are seeing the upper pattern here for tonight with a lovely little ridge. You see it right here, this upper high sitting right over Tennessee. We have this northwest flow, and there's an upper low here in northern Maine. These little kinks you see are the upper air disturbances moving southeastward in that flow, and this was where we were going to see that little mesoscale thing that was going to be long. Uh, Meanwhile, by the way, in the west, you can see the changes going on here. There's a rather robust looking upper low in northern Montana and another one coming into northwestern Washington. So the Pacific is opening up with some moisture driving it in westward. I'm sorry, eastward. Uh, Not seeing it getting down into California and Arizona, New Mexico yet, but that's going to change as we move time. Now the ridge in the east starts to flatten out, and of course the system that's up in northwest Montana now will move along, and then it's going to take a dive on Friday. This brings the cold front through. A big ridge then shifts. By the way, if you watch how the gears move around. The upper high holds intact and then just sort of sneaks its way westward and then builds up along about 95, 100 degrees west. You've got a deep trough coming into the west coast, and that allows the system in the east to deepen and drop southeastward into New England. And as a result, now we are at to Father's Day here. This is a very, very cool flow. I thought I did a double take today, by the way, when I put the surface up and I saw the thickness almost down to 546, which is something you really don't see very often this time of year. But you've got a ridge in the middle and you've got troughs along both coasts. This is ideal to keep things cool in the Northeast. However, it does mean that the heat area is going to shift into the plains and point south up and down the Mississippi Valley and into Texas. So the middle of the country this weekend is going to have a hot but dry Father's Day, while the East is going to have a nice, pleasant, and relatively cool Father's Day weekend. The only thing we'll need to watch, and the Europeans been trying to, which I think has been handling this better all along. European has been trying to show this upper low in Maine dropping southward. That was on some prior runs, but now on the latest run, it's not doing that. So that's good. And as we move into next week, the ridge starts to try to move to the east, but it never really quite gets here. I mean, it's not. It's very strong, Joe, in the plains and in the Mississippi Valley, but it just sort of flattens out when it gets starts to shift back down into the Gulf states. And you still have, by the way, uh, this is later next week, so we're looking at Thursday. We're looking now at Thursday, June 23rd. I mean, you still have what looks like what is doesn't look like it. It is. We just got this northwest flow, so it's going to be hard to get hot and humid in a pattern like this.
Well, I just want to show you, and if you switch back to my map here, I'm sharing up. What did I do? There we go. There we're back. I want to show you the contrast. This is from the Climate Prediction Center, and what you're seeing on your screen right now is the zone of above normal, except this area right here that encompasses eastern Nebraska, northeastern Kentucky, northeastern Kansas, I should say, northwestern Missouri, western sections of Iowa, and even southwestern sections of Minnesota and southeastern North Dakota. This zone right here is at the top of the scale, 90% or more probability for above normal temperatures, which means that if you're in this area, This is the 6 to 10 day outlook, starting next Sunday and continuing over into the middle of next week. This zone right here is likely to have more than a few days of temperatures well up in the 90s, maybe even triple digit temperatures. This is very, very hot air. And you see this and you say to yourself, oh my goodness, well, is that eventually going to get here? Well, no, because you just saw Joe show on the upper air the position of the ridge and also the fact that we have a rather coolish airflow. The upper level winds, the 500 level winds, are coming out of the north northwest. That's why here in our neck of the woods, we have a better than 70% probability of below normal probability of temperatures, below normal temperatures. So while the folks out here in the plains are suffering with extreme heat, we here in the Northeast are sitting pretty. We here in the Northeast are going to enjoy, as we mentioned, Saturday, Sunday, and into early next week. What a gorgeous set of days that we're going to have with temperatures not getting overly hot, kind of coolish at night with temperatures in the 50s. So, very, very nice weather here in our sector of the world. While again, over in the nation's midsection, they're dealing with all of this heat. By the way, the other corner of the United States, the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, they too will be enjoying below normal temperatures. So, if you want cool temperatures, go out to the west, the western states, especially the Pacific Northwest, or come east, and especially in the Northeast. That's where all the nice, dry, and pleasantly cool air is. If you want the heat, there you see it right there across not just the northern and central plains, but all the way down to the all the way down to almost the Gulf Coast. So very hot temperatures. You are actually above normal too, Joe, but you're nothing compared to what the folks just a few hundred miles to your north and west are going to be going through later this weekend and early next week.
Yeah, they're going for 95 or 96 for Atlanta tomorrow and Wednesday with a chance of some thunderstorms. I got to 87 today. I think that's the highest I've been all spring. I still have not seen a 90-degree reading here in the mountains on my thermometer, but if it got to 87 here, I'm going to take a quick look just to see if, because in town and over at the airport, yes, Blairsville does have an airport. They fly those. You can go there with your model airplanes and fly them there. Um, but let me take a look and see what temperatures did here today at the airport. Right now, 84 with a dew point of 74. I have to tell you though, I got quite honestly, with the dew points as high as they
Right.
are, I wasn't especially uncomfortable when I went outside. So I always said that the humidity down south, because having lived down here years ago, I always thought that the humidity that you feel down here is a lot different than the humidity you feel up in the Northeast and in the Midwest. It's just a whole different world. And of course, I want to load the 3-day history here, and what am I getting from the Weather Service page? Circle of death. Around and around and around it goes, and still
Um,
and still going. There must be some kind of network error going on, somewhere because it's sort of odd that Tornado HQ I can't get that site up, and now I'm having some trouble here with the Weather Service site. Yeah, I mean it just refuses. All right, you know what? Maybe I'll check it later. All right, let's go back to the GFS surface, and we can
and thank you to Leon Probitsky for hitting super chats, and he's got a very interesting animation of what looks like Peter Potamus in an office chair, burning burning the road, or as he's screeching from one side to the other. But
yeah.
thanks, Leon, for that nice little chuckle. And Robert Hill, an update here: rotating wall cloud spotted near Chicago, west northwest of the city, near Midway Airport. Tornado warning.
Yep.
So we just looked at that a little while ago.
By the
So
way, if you're watching this on a replay, obviously it's dated. It's 8:02 Eastern time. So when it comes to severe weather, please go to your local National Weather Service forecast office to get the latest weather information at weather.gov or the Storm Prediction Center, which is spc.noaa.gov. Yeah, that's blue up there in the northern Rockies, so some places getting some snow. That cluster of thunderstorms, you see, I'm not showing the radar here, I'm just showing the actually generated precip. But you see what happens to it as it goes overnight. It's still holding together at about 2 a.m. as it moves through Ohio, and then it just sort of, you know, as it heads to the southeast. And again, the weather in the northeast and in the northern mid-Atlantic, they should be okay. There are some showers tomorrow, kind of, I guess, where the wall between the warm air in the east and the very hot air that's further west. There's some showers and storms that form on the borderline there in eastern Michigan down into western PA on Wednesday, and those actually drop southward into the Carolinas into Georgia by time we go to Wednesday night and Thursday. Then here comes the front for late Thursday with some showers and storms. It looks to me, Joe, that there's actually two fronts. There's one that comes through Thursday night, and then there's the one with the upper trough on Friday. So I'm wondering whether that there might be another chance for a shower or thunderstorm on Friday before the cool, dry air really arrives. And that tells me that Friday might be the hottest day of the week, hot in quotes, maybe mid to upper 80s, or a few spots get close to 90 if there's enough sun. And then we get another shower or thunderstorm in the late afternoon. Then that goes by, and here comes the big high for Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, that's a 552 thickness. That's a 546 thickness at 2 a.m. Sunday, just right across, just north of New York City. And at 8 a.m., there's a 546 thickness, Joe, crossing Long Island, northern New Jersey into northeastern PA, and back up to about Rochester, Syracuse. That is a cool shot of air with that high. That's not too shabby. And as we showed you with the upper air, if it as impressive as that trough is, it shouldn't be too much of a shock. And in fact, I'll bring up the temperature anomalies, and you'll see for Sunday. I mean, this is actually for Saturday evening. The very large area of below average temperatures. We're still above average on Friday, and then on Saturday, the cool air comes in during the day, and Saturday night and Sunday, and then moving into the week of starting Monday, June 20th, still have below normal temperatures into through Tuesday, and then we start to get into some of the above normal temperatures later on next week. And then, of course, it's much above normal in parts of the southeast, as you can see there too. Also, uh, in the southeast and down into northernmost Florida with that pinkish color. So again, not too shabby a pattern. Let's check out. Let's see what NHC is up to, shall we? Surely.
Why not?
Why not? All right. So
Yes.
they've got an X marked out near Panama. That's how far south this is. And they have a 40% probability of this developing into a tropical depression if the system remains over the water, and that's the big if. And once again, the GFS has gotten has backed off. It for a number of days it was basically spitting up everything down there, so you couldn't almost tell one system from another. Now it's sort of backed off. I've just got the latest run, and you see it here. It does do something with that. It brings it up northward, just offshore, Nicaragua, and then Honduras, and then takes a sharp left turn, and moves it into Belize, and then into south of the Yucatan, and then over into Mexico. Now, this is a big difference from what it was doing last week when it was trying to bring those systems up into the southern Gulf. And we talked about the fact that that was probably the reason why the GFS was having so much trouble dealing with the troughing in the eastern part of the United States where all the other models weren't. And it was the fact that it was doing something down here in the tropics doing what it was doing in the tropics, which was affecting the ridge to the north, which is pretty much, you get the feedback goes all the way up. If you look at the European really doesn't do anything with this. It just says disturbed weather, but it doesn't develop any kind of closed circulation. It just sort of moves an open wave along into Central America, and then got something that comes out on the Pacific side. So um, that's the reason. That really is the primary reason why the GFS has been so off with what it was doing in the East. And today it kind of came into line, although it still had a little bit of a hiccup on the 18Z, but it's pretty much in line with what the others are doing. So I feel pretty confident that we're going to have what we've advertised for the Father's Day weekend, and that cool air coming into the East. And of course, Joe, the forecast shoppers were out in full force uh, with me because objecting to the fact that the I was talking about a cool weekend because their weather apps were showing one thing or another, or so and so. How come you're saying this when so and so is saying that? I often, what came to mind about that? I wonder now, and I'm going to ask this question to the next bozo that that I catch forecast shopping. And by the way, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about with respect to the forecast shopping thing, that's when you put out a forecast and then somebody else comes up to you and challenges you by telling you that someone else of some other well-known person is going something totally different than you. And I don't know how about I don't know how you feel about it, uh, but that's always bugged me. That's always bugged me. You and I dealt with that professionally, where your own bosses would do that to you, and it used to drive me crazy. And it drives me crazy when people also do it to me. If but what the thought crossed my mind, I wonder if they go to the other person and say, "Oh, well, Joe, Joe Rayo said, uh, you're saying this, but Joe Rayo is saying that." I mean,
It
I
reminds
have to
me.
ask that question if they've gone to the other person to ask them, because my bet is that they don't, but I could be wrong.
It reminds me of John Carpilio, who was the news director at WHJJ in Providence, Rhode Island. I did the weather there for over 10 years. And whenever we had a potential major system, major storm, especially in the wintertime, he'd let me do my recording first. Like, this afternoon clouding up, tonight snow, and tomorrow the snow comes to an end, and we'll see 2 to 4 inches. I'm Joe Rayo in the WHJJ Weather Center. As soon as I finished all the tapes, he'd come on and say, "Well, Copeland says," Copeland being Bob Copeland, who was a TV meteorologist in Boston, and he might say, if I'm saying 2 to 4 inches, he'd say, "Well, Copeland says they're going to get 6 to 10 inches or whatever," and it would used to drive me crazy. And actually, at one time, I actually said, "Well, why don't you just go to Bob Copeland and have him do your forecast if you if you feel that way about it?"
Well,
Yeah, I feel the same way, Joe.
it's
I
insulting.
don't I don't like hearing what somebody else says. All right, if you want to tell me after I've done my forecast, please don't tell me while I'm putting my forecast together or even before. That's the worst thing. I try never to listen to somebody else, prior to putting together my own thoughts, my own outlook or anything.
Oh,
Then I come back and
I never do. I never listen
then
to.
I'll listen afterwards and I'll say, but what is he seeing that I'm not seeing? Or why is he going for that? Or I really get worried when whoever I'm listening to goes for exactly what I'm going for. I say,
then you know
uh-oh.
then you know you're wrong.
Yeah.
Um, Johnny Quest hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Johnny Quest. And Johnny has a question, because of course we live in like everywhere else in the world, we live in a world now of acronyms. And he's asking, what is CIN as regards to weather? Now, Joe, CIN is a new one on me. So I did a quick Google, and I actually posted the link up on the chat board. CIN, and this is from the folks at weather.gov. Okay, so excuse me, and it's from the Weather Service Forecast Office in Dallas Fort Worth. and it is a measurement of CIN is convective inhibition. Okay,
Sounds political.
that sounds it's
It
it
sounds political.
it sounds political. It sounds sexual. Um, but convective inhibition, what is sometimes more commonly referred to as the strength of the cap. Okay, the value is capped off at 500 joules. So I guess they look at the cape values. Um, so they put a cap on it. That's what I'm getting out of this. In cases when there is no surface-based cape available, so it's like they set it to 500 joules. So if they don't have a figure, they just stick in 500. All right. Now, the cap is said to be breakable. I'm skipping the middle paragraph. In general, the cap is said to be breakable when the CIN is 30 joules or less, or if there's a lifted index LSI. Is that what that?
Right.
Yeah, is 2 degrees or less. A negative LSI is rare, but it's indicative of a freely buoyant low-level instability.
Oh my God.
Do you
Sounds like
wonder?
all of a sudden now I'm back in Stan Getzelman's synoptic meteorology class where we had to actually plot adiabatic lapse rates on charts. And
We used to have to look these things up in books. Now it's
oh
I got to give credit to the Weather Service because as far as the Weather Service United States, when you look at what's on their sites and how much educational stuff, the models, the guidance, everything, it's all there for everybody, and it's wonderful because when you go to some of these sites over, in your, some of the European sites, uh, there's so little. I guess they keep the rest of it a secret. I don't know. Or maybe I'm not looking in the right place. But when I go to some of these government websites in some of the nations on the other side, uh, you don't have any of this stuff. So
and Stan
it's
was
a big plus that
Stan,
we've got this.
Stan used to remind me of the Scarecrow in The Wizard of
Oh,
Oz.
be nice.
After they handed him after the wizard handed him the diploma, right?
Right.
And Stan, so you would ask Stan, for example, Stan, what's convective inhibition? And he would look at you and he'd say, it's short for convective inhibition, the area between the temperature sounding and the adiabat, moist adiabat followed by the lifted parcel on its way to the LFC. And like, oh, good God, I've got an atmospheric brain.
And to quote the Tin Man, my heart is breaking.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, and we're going to have Mr. The chairman Scott Briller is finishing his last COVID run tonight, and then he's taking his show on the road in southern New Jersey, and he will be doing all the big the big spots up and down the boardwalk for the month of July. So that's going to be a lot of fun for him. So um, enjoy yourself and have a great time at it. And Daniel Fitzsimmons wants to know if it snows in New Zealand. Yeah, I think it does. They got mountains down there. It does snow uh, up, well,
They
down,
also have earthquakes.
and
They
earthquakes.
also have earthquakes. You don't want to be near Christchurch when they have one of their Richter 5 or 6 quakes down there.
No, have you been because you're so well traveled? Have you been to New Zealand?
No, I have not been. Renata and I would love to go to New Zealand or Australia, so we
Hmm?
have not yet done that. But
Uh, uh,
there's still time.
for those of you who've seen Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, a lot of that was shot in New Zealand. And there's some beautiful scenic shots in the entire movie. That a lot of that was shot in the lovely nation of New Zealand. If you do ever get to go to New Zealand, Joe, you could meet up with the Tasmanian Devil. Or
I
no,
could go to
oh wait, well,
Tasmania
you
in
go to
order to do that.
Tasmania for that, which is on that's on in Australia. I'm sorry, my bad.
Right.
All right, so back to let's do Briller Jeopardy and wrap up this night. So we're going to be looking at extreme weather for the month of July for New York City, and within three. What is the highest temperature ever recorded in New York City? And if you could give the date, if you can give the day or the date, you get a bonus points.
July 9th, 1936, 106 degrees in New York, or within the confines of the five boroughs of New York, it was July 3rd, 1966, 107 at LaGuardia Airport.
Okay, show off. What was the lowest temperature ever in? What's the lowest temperature ever in the month of July?
Oh dear. I should know that since I know the high so well. What would be the lowest? I don't think it's ever got into the 40s at Central Park in July. I'll say 50. I'll say 52. I don't know what the
50,
date would be.
52 is exactly correct. On the 1st of July, 1943. What was the coldest maximum?
The coldest maximum I would think in New York, Central Park, or the lowest high temperature, I would say 53.
Now, 61 on July 6th, 1956.
You mean to tell me it's never been in the 50s for a high temperature in
Oh, you mean
July?
a day where it never got out of the 50s? No. Apparently, 61
Oh,
in 1956
wow.
is the lowest high. In July 1889, New York City Central Park received its greatest amount of precipitation for the month of July. How many inches?
Oh, dear me. That could be anything from a tropical system to a heavy downpour or downpour. I'll say 6.5 inches.
No, the monthly record is 11.89.
11.89 for the entire month of July. That's
You wonder if maybe a tropical system was involved in that month,
it had to be.
which is not
What
impossible.
year was that? What year?
98, what was it? 18, hang on. Uh, July 1889.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
that works.
Yeah.
You know this. You know our chat. Those our friends on the chat board are sophisticated folks because they're playing with the Pythagorean theorem on the chat board. Very
I think
nice.
they no, you know what I think they're doing? Somebody may have brought up the fact that that it was wrong. The scarecrow the scarecrow made the comment about the sum of the square roots of any two sides of an
Yeah,
isosceles triangle is equal to the square
square
root of
root
the
of the third
remaining side.
side.
And that's wrong.
Yes.
But that's wrong. It's something totally completely, they didn't do their homework when they
Well,
wrote the script for that.
I wonder if you Google the because you could Google the movies up and you could Google like you could Google the mistakes. There are websites that have the mistakes that are in movies. Disjointed shots or Humphrey Bogart smoking a cigarette in one shot, and then in the very next shot, um, the cigarette doesn't burn down; it burns in the other direction. So they had to light another one. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if that's mentioned in any of those websites. I'm gonna have to take a look at this. So, all
And
right.
there's also there was a Miracle on 34th Street where the guy is oh yeah, it's Sawyer. Mr.
Mr.
Sawyer, the
Sawyer.
psychiatrist the psychiatrist at Macy's is giving a test to Santa Claus, the guy who's playing Santa Claus for Macy's, who actually believes that he is Santa Claus. And he actually, the guy who's playing Santa Claus says, "Who was the vice president under John Quincy Adams? Daniel D. Tompkins." And it turns out that that was absolutely wrong. That they what they did was when they wrote the script for Miracle on 34th Street, they just said, okay, he Adams was the 12th president, so they found the 12th vice president, but the vice president and the president didn't match numerically, and so they actually gave a wrong answer for that, or provided a wrong answer for that question. So it's another example of how the script can be wrong. Along with the Scarecrow, we also have now. Uh, Along with Ray Bolger, we have the guy who played Santa Claus. I
Yep.
forgot who that was.
Oh, Edmund Gwynn.
Edmund Gwynn. Okay.
All right, let's wrap it up for tonight on this Monday night. Hope everybody had a nice day. And Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at the usual show time, which is 7:30 Eastern. Appreciate all the super chat hits tonight. Thank you for those. And Joe, we'll see you tomorrow.
We'll be here. Just make sure you're there.
Yes, Harvey. Good night, everybody.
Good night.